Hey everybody, I'm Daniel Epler. Welcome to the YouTube channel where we are celebrating all kinds of movies, and today it is a big Blu-ray haul day. I'm going to be talking about my pickups from the Scream Factory Shocktober sale. That sale was actually back in October, but better late than never. I'm going to talk about those movies now, as well as some 4Ks that I picked up from Best Buy for Black Friday. That wasn't quite big enough haul to justify a video, I thought, so I'm tacking that on at the end here. But you know what? Without further ado, I love Scream Factory. I love horror movies. Let's talk about a bunch of them. So first up is Deadly Blessing. This is one that I had seen before and I actually think it's kind of underrated. It is a Wes Craven movie in which it's one of his early ones, pre-Nightmare on Elm Street, but there is a very Nightmare on Elm Street scene in here that you can check out that's interesting to see. I'm going to show you the alternate cover art right there. But it is a rural horror film about not an Amish community, but a similar kind of thing. Hittites is what they're called. And they're creepy and they believe in something called the incubus. And are they right about that? Or are they just the actual horror? There's a lot of spooky stuff going on here that I think it's really fun. Some people think it's boring. I like Deadly Blessing. Next up is The Doctor and the Devils. This is a British horror film from the 1980s, I believe. It's 1985. And I can't believe I've never seen this movie. It's a take on the Robert Louis Stevenson, The Body Snatcher story that The Body Snatcher with Boris Karloff is based on as well. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It's got an amazing cast of Jonathan Pryce, Timothy Dalton, Patrick Stewart, a whole lot of fantastic people. So I love British period piece horror. That seems to be what this is. Excited to check that out. Next up is Stephen King's Firestarter. I didn't see the remake that came out with Zac Efron just earlier this year, and I haven't seen this one either. This one is directed by Mark L. Lester. He directed stuff like Commando and Showdown in Little Tokyo. Is it Little Tokyo? Showdown in something Tokyo. Anyway, he directed a lot of fun action movies, and he directed this Stephen King adaptation. I've heard it's pretty good, heard good things. I'm excited to watch it. Next up, this is the first movie I saw when I got this haul in the mail. This is I Saw What You Did, directed by William Castle. It is, from 1965, and I really like this movie because I'm a big fan of teen horror, and it's kind of hard to find teen horror that is in the black and white era, the pre-70s era, and this is an example of that. It's about a couple of teen girls who are on a sleepover. They start making prank calls, and they prank call a guy who just murdered his girlfriend. So he thinks the prank call is real, and he thinks people are after him. And I really love this movie. It's got Joan Crawford on there. She's not in the movie very much. She's definitely in it to sell more tickets. And she's probably one of the weaker parts of the movie just because she doesn't need to be there. But it's a really fun teen horror movie. And I felt like I could see some influences for Halloween and Scream that would come out later on. In fact, Halloween only came out 13 years after this, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is an influence. Next up, it's Island of Terror. I actually already switched the cover around because I much prefer that cover art. But if you're looking on the Scream Factory website, that's the one you're going to see. This is directed by Terrence Fisher, one of my favorite horror directors of all time, because he directed Hammer movies like Horror of Dracula and Curse of Frankenstein. This is, I'm almost absolutely positive, not technically a Hammer movie. It says Planet Film Productions. That's cool. But it's directed by Terrence Fisher. It's got Peter Cushing. I've heard it has something to do with some kind of living green blob monster. Sounds pretty fun. Excited to check it out. And that's from 1966. Next up is a horror anthology I know basically nothing about. It's Nightmares. It's 4 spooky stories, and it's from the 80s, 1983, and I'm down for that. I love horror anthologies, so excited to watch that one for sure. Next up, we got Nosferatu. So this is not the 1922 classic silent film starring Max Schreck. This is actually a remake, Nosferatu the Vampire, directed by Werner Herzog. Yes, the I want to see the baby guy from The Mandalorian. He directed this one. And every Nosferatu movie I've seen, I saw for the first time this year. I saw the original silent film, this, and Shadow of the Vampire, which is a very fictional telling of the making of the original Nosferatu. And I'm a fan of all of them. This one is actually my favorite. I actually prefer this to the silent film, not just because that one's a silent film and those can be a little bit harder to take in, but I just thought this was a better deeper story. The character of Dracula was much more of a character played by Klaus Kinski, in that he was a very sad, pathetic version of Dracula, an ancient vampire who has been alone for centuries that nothing on earth loves. He's just this grotesque creature, very sad, but he's also just very creepy and off-putting. And there's a lot of, this movie makes a great use out of silence. It's not a silent film, but there's a lot of very quiet sequences, like of him floating in on Jonathan Harker. It's a very, very creepy movie. It also has a much more meaningful ending than the silent film does. So I really love this movie. Klaus Kinski has jumped up to being one of my favorite Draculas. Very, very spooky guy. And Nosferatu the Vampire, I really can't recommend it enough. It's from 1979, same year as the Frank Langella Dracula. So great year for Dracula movies. The second movie I watched when I got this haul is Ravenous, which is a cannibal film from 1999. 1999, what a great year for period piece horror, because you got this and you got Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, both with that one Tim Burton guy, Jeffrey Jones, in both movies. But Ravenous is the tale of, it takes place like kind of during Western times, and it's starring Guy Pearce as a cavalryman who has PTSD essentially, and is sent to a pretty meaningless, quiet outpost where he's just supposed to, you know, be the cavalry guy who's there to solve problems if they come up. And they meet Robert Carlyle, who is a guy who has been living off in the middle of nowhere with people, almost starving to death, and he admits that they turned to eating each other to survive. And maybe he's got a bit of a taste for it, and maybe he likes it a little bit too much. So it's a really cool cannibal film. One cool thing about it, I thought, is by the 45-minute mark, everything that I expected to happen in the movie happened. Like, I kind of had an idea of what the movie was. I could see where it was going. And by 45 minutes, it felt like the movie came to what I would thought would be the ending. And then for the rest of the movie, it's just total unknown. Like, I had no idea where this movie was going. And I thought that was really exciting. That might sound like a criticism, but it's not at all. It goes off in a pretty cool direction. And I really dug it. So if you like period piece horror, I do recommend Ravenous. Next up, one of the few Hammer films that I had not bought from Scream Factory yet. I actually had a video of my whole Hammer Scream Factory collection. It's by far my most watched video, so thank you for that. This is one that I hadn't picked up yet, Quatermass 2. It's part of a trilogy of Quatermass films that Hammer made. You got the Quatermass Experiment, you've got Quatermass 2, and then Quatermass in the Pit. I love Quatermass in the Pit. I quite like Quatermass Experiment, and I've never seen Quatermass 2. It is directed by Val Guest, who directed the first one. He directed a lot of really cool 50s sci-fi movies. That's essentially what this is, a 50s sci-fi film. I actually peeked in. It's got a cool alternate cover and alternate title, Enemy from Space. That looks cool. That looks very cool. But I am going to stick with the real title of Quatermass 2, what I consider to be the main title. I love these 50 sci-fi movies, and I'm very excited to watch a Hammer film I've never seen. Oh, saving the weirdest for last is a TV movie called Strays. And a good friend of mine, Paul Farrell, he's a writer over at Bloody Disgusting, podcaster at the Den Ringers podcast. He recommended this movie to me on my podcast when he was guesting one time, the Cobwebs podcast. I just said the word podcast way too many times. And Strays, he described it as basically arachnophobia, but with stray cats instead of spiders. And that sounds fun. I'm kind of intrigued by that. It sounded really fun when he described it. It is a TV movie. It's starring, Kathleen Quinlan. All right, that's somebody, but I'm actually way too excited to watch this. So I'm probably going to check this out soon. That is Strays. When that is from 1991. So that's just the year after Arachnophobia. So that is my whole haul. Oh, I'm squishing the Deadly Blessing slipcover a little bit. Let's not do that. That's my whole haul from Scream Factory Shocktober sale. Next up, I'm going to be talking about what I picked up from Best Buy for Black Friday. There were a lot of Blu-ray sales for Black Friday, like from Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, and such. I only bought a few basic movies from Best Buy, honestly. I went a little bit easy. So this is 3 new releases that I wanted to pick up that were for great deals, and then 1 older movie. So I've got The Batman on 4K. I really, really loved this movie. I know some people thought it was over long, over serious. I found it to be a very serious, brooding Batman film, but with a great pulp energy to it. Like, it did have enough comic bookiness to it, that it wasn't too much just like you threw Batman into a Michael Mann movie. So I thought it was really fun. I loved Robert Pattinson in the role. I loved the whole cast. Maybe Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is the standout. And this is a really high quality feeling slipcover, nice heavy duty case. It's got the 4K, the Blu-ray, the digital code. I was pretty blown away by the fact that it says it has over 2 hours of special features. Modern superhero movie Blu-ray releases don't tend to be great with special features. Very cool that Matt Reeves, I'm guessing, made that happen. It's even got a making of documentary. That's probably my favorite kind of special features. So that is the Batman. I only got it for $10, so that was a great deal. Next up, another 4K movie, one of my favorite movies of the year, The Northman, which is a Robert Eggers movie. I'm so far a big Robert Eggers fan. I like how deeply he dives into history, into making authentic feeling historical period pieces. And this is kind of the ultimate Viking movie. Like, I don't think you can point to another Viking movie that can possibly top The Northman. It is a really intense movie about vengeance with so much historical accuracy. It feels so mythic. It feels like a tale that real Vikings would tell each other among a campfire back in this time period. And that's basically the best way I can describe it. It has an incredible cast. Anya Taylor-Joy. This is the year of joy. I don't think any of us can deny this. And The Northman is awesome. So excited to have it on 4K and Blu-ray and a digital code. Looks like it's got some special features on it as well. Very cool. Another one of my favorite movies of the year, X. Not on 4K. I don't think X got released on 4K in the US, or at least not in a mainstream sense. But X is a slasher film directed by Ty West, one of my favorite horror directors working right now. And it's basically just a 1970s style slasher movie executed perfectly. Like, what if those old 1970s grindhouse movies, like besides the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like some of the B-rate ones, had a brilliant filmmaker at the helm. And that's basically what you get with X. I found it to be an enormous amount of fun. Mia Goth was great in the role. For me, Brittany Snow kind of stole the show. She was super fun, super cool. I really like Pearl, which came out as a prequel. Would have bought that if it was on sale. But I think I like X a little bit more. It's just a pure escapist, fun slasher movie. And last, but definitely not least, one of my favorite movies of all time that I just picked up on 4K. It's a Wonderful Life. Now, I'm not totally happy with this purchase. I didn't realize that the 4K disc has the black and white film. That's what I want. But the Blu-ray has the colorized version. And yes, I want the 4K disc most of all, but I only have a 4K player in my basement. The upstairs, I just use a PS3, honestly, to play Blu-rays. So I can really only watch this movie downstairs because never in a million years am I going to watch a colorized version of black and white film. Like, over my dead body, that is never, ever happening. So really, this doesn't come with a Blu-ray for me, but it does have a digital code. So I guess I can stream it upstairs, 4K it downstairs. Anyway, probably my favorite Christmas movie. One of the biggest compliments I can give this movie is the other Christmas classics I love, like Home Alone and A Christmas Story, are movies that I put on like while I'm decorating for Christmas, while I'm wrapping presents, doing some kind of Christmas fun family stuff. This is a movie I don't do that. I don't do that for It's a Wonderful Life. I sit down, I pay attention to this movie, I open myself up to the emotions that it's going to stir inside of me. This is not a put on in the background movie for me. This is a give it your all kind of movie. I love it with all my heart. It's my favorite Christmas movie. So that's my entire haul. We just talked about a lot of movies. Hope you had fun. I know I did. And comment down below, what is your favorite movie that I picked up, or what is the movie that you would check out first? Or what did you pick up on Black Friday? I want to know. Give us a like and a subscribe. That would always be appreciated. We will appreciate all kinds of movies next time.